Hey students, welcome back. In a minute, we're gonna read a cool story, but before we do, I have 3 new vocabulary words for you. Listen carefully, these are some interesting words. The first word is exclaimed. Exclaimed means to have spoken suddenly in surprise, anger, or excitement. Here's a few examples. You could say, "Hey, you used my bike without asking me." That's one way to exclaim. You could also say, "Whoa, what's that?" There's a lot of different ways that you might exclaim something. But basically, you're saying something suddenly in anger, surprise, or maybe excitement. We'll see more about this word in the story that we read. The next word is chat. When you chat, you talk about something in a friendly way. Sometimes I chat with my mom about my day at school. That looks like what the girl is doing in the picture. Are there sometimes when you have a chat? Maybe with a neighbor or a brother, sister, or another family member or friend? So a chat is a friendly conversation. Here's another word. Familiar. Something that you know very well is familiar to you. In this picture, the students are in their classroom that they go to every day. Their classroom is familiar. Is there a place that's familiar to you? Maybe your house, or maybe even a place like the grocery store that you go to shop. Maybe even a favorite beach. So something or some place that you know very well is familiar to you. Now, let's read our story and see if we can listen for these words in the story. The story that we get to read now is a type of story called a fable. Fables, as we know, are made up, they're fiction, and oftentimes they try to teach us a lesson. I wonder what the lesson is that they'll try to teach us in this story. Let's take a look at our title. Now these are story cards, so instead of being on the front cover of our book, we find the title on the back of the first card. Let's read it. The Turtle and the Flute. A flute is a special type of musical instrument that you blow into to make noise. You know what else I noticed about this title? I saw one of our sight words in there 2 times. Did you see it? The. I saw the word the in there 2 times. The Turtle and the Flute. And this story is actually a story from Brazil. Let's read and see if we can listen for the vocabulary words we learned and also find out what kind of lesson we'll learn in this story. The Turtle and the Flute. Long ago, on the banks of the Amazon River, a happy little turtle played her flute all day. She played joyful music that made all the animals sway and hum. They gathered every day to listen. Macaw squawked, "I can talk and talk all day, but I'd rather listen to you play, Turtle." "I agree," croaked Toad, as he swayed to the music on his lily pad. "Your music is the nicest in the jungle." Turtle also loved to dance to the music as she played. She leaped around the jungle floor, hopping and jumping from flower to flower. Tapir whistled as Turtle played and danced while Macaw sang along to the lovely song. Now a tapir is that animal up there, and I've actually heard their name said a lot of different ways. Pretty interesting looking animal, huh? Must be a very common animal in Brazil. I don't think we have any of those here in Hawaii. Let's keep reading. I wonder what other kinds of sounds they'll hear besides the flute music. One day, after Turtle had played and danced for hours, she was very tired or exhausted. "I think it's time to rest. Good night, my friends," she said as she yawned. After her friends waved goodbye, Turtle curled up inside her shell with her flute tucked in beside her. Soon she was fast asleep. After a few hours, a man walked by. He looked down and saw Turtle sleeping on the riverbank. He decided to take her home. He looked around to make sure nobody was watching, and he picked her up and exclaimed, "Yum! Turtle soup will make a tasty treat for dinner tonight." The man carefully carried Turtle home. He put her in a sturdy cage in his yard and then closed the lid tightly. His children were playing nearby. They ran over to the cage to see what was inside. "Don't let the turtle out of the cage," the man said to them. "Tonight we will enjoy delicious turtle soup for our dinner." Yikes! I wonder what's going to happen next in the story. Let's read and find out. Then the man went to work in the fields. The children stayed home and played in the yard. Every once in a while, they would peek into the cage at the little turtle. They started to chat about the yummy turtle soup that they would have later for dinner. When Turtle woke up, she knew she was not in a familiar place. She was very surprised to find herself locked in a cage. She became frightened when she heard the children talk about turtle soup. "I must escape," she thought. She pushed and pulled on the lid of the cage, but it would not budge. Then she had an idea. Turtle reached for her flute and began to play. She played the most beautiful music that she knew. The children stopped to listen. "Listen! Turtle is playing the flute," they shouted. They ran over to the cage and watched Turtle play. They began to sway to the beautiful music. "I can dance as well as play," said Turtle. "I can even play and dance at the same time. If you open the cage, I will show you." So the children opened the cage, and Turtle started to dance. When they're talking about the people swaying to the music, I can really get a picture in my mind of what's happening in the story. I wonder what's going to happen next. Turtle's shell banged against the sides of the cage as she danced. The volume of the flute became louder. The children laughed and clapped. "I am stiff from dancing in this tiny cage." Turtle stopped and said, "Please, let me go for a short walk." The children wanted Turtle to entertain them more, so they let her out. "May I try your flute?" the boy asked. "I would love to play beautiful music too." As the boy played, Turtle crawled away. "Don't go too far," his sister warned. Turtle crawled around the yard as the children took turns playing the flute. Soon, the children stopped watching, and Turtle crawled closer to the forest. Then she quietly disappeared under a pile of leaves. The children suddenly looked up and noticed that Turtle was gone. "Turtle, Turtle," they called. "Where are you?" But there was no answer. "Turtle tricked us," they said. By the time the man returned home from the fields, Turtle was far, far away, sitting on the banks of the river once again, playing happy tunes on her brand new flute. Wow, that was quite an interesting story. What were some of the sounds that they heard in the story? Were they the same type of sounds or were they different ones than the other story we read about sounds in the city? It is very interesting to think about all the different types of sounds we can hear.